Good evening. Welcome to this Discuss with Expert meeting on committing to wind energy as part of the Flying Solo program here in the auditorium of the TU Delft. On behalf of the TU Delft Library, I would like to thank you for being here today. Before we begin, I'd like to briefly explain why we consider a meeting like this so important. I think most of you know the story of the Royal Library of Alexandria. This great library, founded in the 3rd century BC, is where Ptolemy gathered all knowledge. Its extensive collection, covering various sciences and fields of knowledge, attracted students and scholars from all over the world. Through the use and input of these visitors, knowledge was tested and optimized. This is what still is necessary, testing and optimizing knowledge. And we can do this together by being curious, interested, and through discussion like we are having here today. I would like to thank our program manager, Vincent Celuzzi, over here, the colleagues of Physical Collections, the colleagues of Library Communication, and everyone who helped to organize the Flying Solo program for their work. And I wish you all an inspiring Discuss evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. Thank you for your support of all that we do. I'm Vincent, and I'm the curator of this exhibition and program. And I'll just say a few words just to maybe provide a little bit of a context of the exhibition and program. It started off firstly with many coffees with Roland in discovering this fascinating research field of airborne wind energy and generating energy from kites. And then it really snowballed with this big idea of the tram exhibition and bringing science and the research of the TU Delft out into the general public. And then I was thinking of the perfect subject for this, and then wind energy. It just made so much sense for the Tramline 1 to run from the research at Delft to the industry in Scheveningen. And then it snowballed even further because I typically curate a feature artist with every exhibition, and then of course, naturally when thinking about wind energy, one thinks of Theo Jansen's famous Strandbiesten and the work that he does in Scheveningen also makes sense for the tram there. And so from there, we brought Theo in, and of course the fact that he's a former student of the TU, and that really made it nice. And so we started putting these elements together, and then of course you can't tell the story about airborne wind energy without going back and thinking about the turbine testing and the dawn of the field in the 70s at the TU, and so this is when we brought in structures, and then we also brought in looked even further back to the historic Poldermolen, and then we allowed us to dive into our vast collections of the library, so this was very nice, and then we of course wanted to connect it with the present and make connections with so many current companies and industry and business, and so this is when we were privileged to work with Vattenfall and HTM, who both organizations really helped us sponsor and make this exhibition and program possible. Additionally, we worked with the Molen de Ros locally in town, as well as Blade Made and Kite Power. So we're very appreciative to bring all these parties together, and happy to have representatives from each of these here tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our moderator and wish you a pleasant evening.
Yes, I tend to be your moderator tonight, and I have difficulties already in seeing you, and I would really like to see you a little bit better, so maybe the light in the audience can be a little bit shinier. Oh, there are your beautiful faces. So, welcome to this event, Flying Solo. I'm delighted to guide you through an evening that builds on the Flying Solo exhibition. Who has had the chance the past 2 months to visit this exhibition? I expected more hands for some reason. Not even half of the audience was there, but it will be here for a few days or a few weeks more. I'll tell you all about it after the event. So you still have a chance, fortunately, to see some of the exhibition. Tonight we're going to talk about this big question: what does it take to fully commit to wind? What is committing to wind, even? We'll find that out this evening. When you think of committing, you can look at this question from many angles, and that's why we invited 5 very different persons to talk about it: an artist, an ecologist, a social scientist, someone who spent 50 years studying the evolution of wind technology, and I hope you will join us as well to talk with us, because I really like interactive events. Did I already introduce myself? It is already behind me, very big. Wow. So my background is in, what shall I say, science journalism. And before that, I even did 2 years of research at the TU Delft. So I know this university a bit. And what I discovered when doing science and doing research is that a lot of events are about listening to the people who are on stage, and that the people on stage have all the expertise. But I have a different opinion. I think you have expertise as well. And when you don't, you have an opinion. And when you don't, you must feel something, I think. So that's what I would like to explore with you. So I'd like to hear from you as well. So let's find out who is in the audience. I hope I have some labels that will suit you. So let's see some hands. Are there any students in the room? Yes, there are, like 10. And of course, you're sitting in the back. Researchers from TU Delft, from TNO, from all kinds of universities. Also some researchers scattered through the room, in the front and the back. Any engineers, designers, or innovators? Oh, they are also present. Good. And you can hold your hand multiple times, of course. Anyone working in policy or communication, societal impact, maybe? A few, okay. Very good you're here, because I'd like to hear from you as well. And did I forget someone who is here simply out of curiosity? Okay, thanks, great. And maybe someone says, I'm not fitting into any of those categories. Could be. So, this is your PR moment. Who are you? And I hope this one works. It's a catch box, and we'll use it tonight to throw it, and you can catch it. But the fun is, if you don't, it doesn't really matter. So anyone can give it to you. So if I throw it in a wrong way, yeah, don't feel bad about it. But yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you. Who are you?
My name is Pieter Willems, and I'm an entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur, of
Yes.
course, into wind in particular?
We have a company, it's called Kite Power, and it's one of the who has
Yeah.
an exhibit here. Yes,
Kite
so we
Power.
make wind energy with kites.
Very nice. We're going to talk about it. Very nice. Okay, any more entrepreneurs, by the way? Yes. Oh, that was an important category. Any more people who want to introduce themselves? Okay. And then let's have a bit of a talk. We don't have to do everything with this one, or do you like to practice with it? You do? Yeah. It's fun, isn't it? So if we talk about wind, what words come to mind? It's we are not talking about commitment yet, but just wind. What was the first word you think about? Sorry.
It's cold.
Cold, yes.
But energy also.
Also energy. Shall I throw it? Oh, but the woman behind you. Yeah.
Het wappert lekker
Oh,
om je
you can talk.
Oh, ik heb...
Oh, you can talk in the black square in the background.
Het wappert lekker om je heen.
Sorry?
Het wappert lekker om je heen.
Het wappert lekker om je heen. Wow, beautiful, ja. Ja, en dan moet ik het vertalen. Ja, so who knows this beautiful translation for wapperen? I don't know. It dances around you. That's a nice word. And you had a word as well?
I actually had cold or fun or childhood.
Oh, three words.
Yeah.
Wow. Everything you say here is good. There is no wrong answer. So, any association with wind here? Wind, energy, technology. Can I throw it?
I instantly thought of coastal area.
Coastal area. Yeah, good. Very nice. Yeah, and in the back. You can throw it to each other.
When there is wind, there are waves.
There are waves. Yes. Very nice. Thanks. And I saw another hand here, or not? Yes. I'm gonna throw it.
I was saying freedom.
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 Oh, nice word. Nice. And here, yes.
Sailing.
Sorry?
Sailing.
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 Yes, of course. Behind you?
Flow.
Flow. Ooh, beautiful word. Anyone else in the back? Yeah, you?
Wind is energie. We zeilen al 500 jaar met dat. 1000 jaar. En dat zijn goede tijdsperioden. Laten we over 1000 jaar kijken wat we dan uit wind halen.
Wow. Let's look in 1000 years ahead what wind will bring us. That's really long-term thinking. Yeah. We often say we are not good in long-term thinking, but that's even more difficult. But why not? Science fiction. All right. I hope you all thought of something with wind. And I like this beautiful mix of words. So let's start with our first guest. He spent decades bringing creatures to life by walking on wind, purely on wind. His animals living on the beach are not just artworks, they are living arguments that the wind can animate, can shape, and can surprise us. So, who here has ever seen a strand-based living in its natural habitat on the beach? Yes, some strand-based fans. A lot of strand-based fans. More strand-based fans than actually people who have been to the exhibition. Wow, that's amazing. But Theo is already doing it for like 35 years, so I can imagine you saw one. I'm hesitating, but before I call you with an applause, maybe we should look at those strand-based, and if there's a proper translation for strand-based. Strand beasts. Sounds so simple, yeah. Maybe we can first watch at a movie of strand beasts.
We're standing here at the Haagse Hogeschool, and there's a strand beast here called the Animatus currens ventosa. And it's shown here as a natural historical object, as a part of the evolutionary story of the strand beasts. Now, before this building was built, this was a part of the technical university. We as students, we had to learn how to treat metal. So I made a microscope here. And as an unsuccessful student, I'm so happy that I'm back somehow. So I'm so happy that the beast is hanging here.
Give him a warm welcome, Theo Jansen. Ja.
Dankjewel.
Theo, welkom.
Dankjewel.
Dit was een filmpje. I should go on in English. This was a movie of 35 years history.
No, I think this was more the last 5 years.
Okay.
So it's the older one has a very bad resolution because it didn't have a very good camera.
Oh.
So it's very vague images. But of course there are images from the 90s.
Yeah, beautiful. Were you surprised that so many people know the Strandbasin already?
Yeah, of course. Every time it's surprising that YouTube brought my work in the world.
But they have actually seen it on the beach.
Yeah. Because I'm there now, I think, about 20 years on the beach every summer. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people go to the beach and they meet the beasts.
Nice, yeah. You said to me that as an artist, you get to play with the wind, while engineers, I think there are a lot of engineers in this room, they have to justify everything they do with the wind.
Yeah, that's something which is, I think that's the difference between an engineer and an artist, is that an engineer has his responsibility, right? So when you build a bridge, it's not supposed to collapse. And being an artist, nobody cares. And that's a luxury.
It's a luxury,
because then you don't have to mourn about the failures. And because you make a lot of failures, then there comes something which you could never thought of before, and that brings you a lot further again.
Yeah. So what brings this play for you?
This play brings me in a sort of evolutionary process. In the beginning, I thought I was sort of a god, you could say, who only had to materialize his ingenious ideas. And then it turned out that my ingenious ideas were not that ingenious at all. No, in fact, a lot of what I thought of didn't work. And then I tried every time, and then it failed again. But sometimes something happens under your hands, and it seems like if you get along with this electricity tube every day, then it seems to start talking to you. It gives some sort of advices, you could say. And so, in fact, my work is just listening to the tubes. And this is an evolutionary process because you could see my ideas as a sort of mutations. Most mutations don't work. But sometimes something coincidentally happens which brings you a lot further.
Yeah. So do you have the feeling that you evolve with those species, with those strandbeesten, or is it the wind that is the real teacher for you?
Well, I think the whole environment on the beach, the tubes, the sand, the water, and the wind, it all influences the circumstances on the beach, and they play with me. So I'm not really a dictator to all these things. I'm more a sort of a slave, in fact. I have to obey the tubes and also obey the weather. And in fact, I'm quite happy in that submissive situation.
Is it? I'm a bit surprised that I thought you were the creator, the artist.
No, I don't think it's a creative process. No, I'm not very creative, I would say. No, it's more a sort of looking and listening to the advices of the tubes. And so I don't think I have ideas, of course, but the ideas of the tubes are a lot better than mine. So it's a very curly, a very capricious process. The path is very capricious. And in the end, when the animal is finished, I'm surprised myself how beautiful they became. Yeah. So it's not that I try to make beautiful things. It's something which came by itself. Because, the rule in architecture as well, that the form follows function. That's the idea.
Yeah. Do you remember your very first strand-based?
Yeah, it's now still exhibited somewhere. So it was in 1990. So I didn't know how to connect the tubes. I just wound it around it in tape, sellotape, and after a year working on it, it could only move its legs laying on its back. So I recently saw it again, and it looks quite pathetic, you could say.
Does it? Isn't it in the mortuarium?
It's in the mortuarium here, a few hundred meters away from here.
Yeah.
It's at the Schiehal near Rotterdamse Weg. Yeah.
But you said, it's exhibited. Could you say it has died, or is it still alive?
No, I call this extinct.
Oh.
So every spring I bring a new animal to the beach. So I'm working now on the animal for next spring, and then during the summer I learn a lot about how these animals survive the storms and the water and the sand.
Yeah.
And in the fall I'm a little bit wiser how they survive better, and then it's the moment that I declare them extinct, and they go to the boneyard. So in the Strandbeest mortuarium, there you find a lot of extinct animals.
You said it almost looked pitiful, but yet you believed in it completely.
Yes.
Why is that optimism so essential for creating anything new?
Well, I think when I look at it now, I thought, why could I think this could become something? But if I think back of the moment that I was creating it, then I saw it all happening. So you could call me an optimist without a reason, and so an irrational optimist. But I also think that I'm not the only irrational optimist. I think we all have that in ourselves.
Yeah?
That we are a little bit more positive about your own personality, and because there are some experiments done with AI that you have a photograph of a person and you can make it a little bit more handsome, and you can also make it a little bit more ugly, and then people had to choose which was the right person on the photograph in this series of photographs. And most people are 2 or 3 places to the handsome side. And only people who are depressive, they can point at the right person. So we need to be able to fool ourselves a little bit to survive. It's a survival
It's a form of survival.
mechanism.
Yeah, optimism. Yeah. Do you also think we need more art and imagination for survival?
Well, I think art, imagination, or religion even, is a way to fool yourself. I think religion is the oldest way to make yourself a story to believe in and to motivate your life. And we need that as a human being. We cannot really live with the reality. Then we become very unhappy. And we need the stories. We need some imagination. And art, I think art is the new kind of religion. We have a lot of bishops in the art world, and so we need this. I think to be able to conquer all the problems we have in the world.
In the world, yeah. Tonight we talk about commitment to wind. What does that phrase mean to you?
Yeah, for me, the commitment to renew the energy is in fact a commitment to life itself. I mean, why would we save the world, in fact? I mean, of course, we do this for the future generations, but these people don't exist yet. It's very abstract to believe, to do something for somebody who is not there yet. So, but if you believe in the miracle of life, and I mean, we have a miracle. I think life is a miracle. And it's, I mean, the fact that you landed in your body and I landed in mine, the evolution theory doesn't have any clue on that. I mean, we don't know how this all works. So life is still a miracle. And well, and on the, especially I experience this on the beach when I'm usually, well, when the weather is not too good, I'm just alone there. And I feel very much the miracle of life. And I think the miracle of life should motivate us to conquer all these problems which we have. Because if we really look at the problems, it's very easy to become depressive if you don't make life a little bit better in your imagination. So you need to things like, I think, art and religion maybe as well, to conquer all the problems which we have.
So we all need to be a bit more irrational optimists.
Well, we are, in fact.
We are. Oh,
yeah,
so we don't.
Otherwise we wouldn't start all this. All these people you're going to see tonight here, and I've seen them before, all these people who work on wind energy, they're irrational optimists. They must be.
Well, let's ask the audience. Do you feel like irrational optimists? And let's see if you have questions for Theo, who feels like an irrational optimist, by the way. Theo?
Sorry?
Oh, yeah, I'm asking who is feeling like an irrational optimist, but I'm not seeing too many hands.
Okay. Well, then you almost be depressive then.
Are you depressed? No, that's a silly question. Sorry for that. Let's open the floor for you. Do you have any questions about art and wind or strandbasin or anything?
I'm really curious to know how the process starts. Where do you start? You imagine something and then you draw it and then you build it, or you start building and listen to tubes, as you say? How is all this process?
The process of the strand-based.
The working process, that's what you want to know? Yes, well, the working process is, indeed, I often start with a drawing, and then I go to the beach, and I make a new drawing, you could see, with tubes. So with tubes, you can make a three-dimensional drawing. The tube you could see as a stripe of a pencil, you see. So you make, in fact, what normally architects do in their computer in 3D Max or so. I do this on the beach with tubes. So you could see the tubes as a sort of basic material to make things. And then you immediately can just push to it and try things out. And usually you try it out for a few days. And then it changes, because you see something, oh, this is not good. And then, in fact, you don't think that yourself, that the tubes are telling you that. No, I don't feel happy in this way. So then, yeah, and then you make, the next day I wake up with a new idea, and then I try it again. So this is a very interactive process.
More bottom-up, instead of a grand design that you're making, you're starting
yes,
small.
It's a very short feedback, you could say.
Yeah.
Okay, there's also a big difference with engineers, that they have to think everything out and then they're going to build it. Well, nowadays there's a new thing, of course, because you can simulate in a computer very well mechanical systems, so you can play in a computer. So that's
do you do
why.
That?
Sorry?
Oh, sorry, I'm curious if you do that as well.
I did that before.
Okay.
And but I think it's that the engineers have the chance to become artists again. Because that's what we originally are. In fact, this all started off with this playing like Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah. Who feels like they are going to begin becoming an artist tomorrow? Or
No, not tomorrow, not yet. It was the 90s, right, when you started with this?
1990.
1990.
Yes.
I'm more curious to what happened before, because you failed a lot of times. And how did you end up with tubes?
Yes. But I used to study here at the Technical University, physics, so just 100 meters away from here. And then in 1995 or 75, I became a painter. So I painted for a long time. And in the beginning of the 80s, I had this idea to build a flying saucer of 4 meters wide, and it could fly. So I launched it over Delft, so the whole town was in commotion. And it was on television, so I have been famous for a few months after that. And then I started making machines, a painting machine, and I couldn't paint anymore. I couldn't concentrate on a brush anymore. And then I became a columnist of the Volkskrant, so I was writing columns about science. More or less, yeah. Well, it was a science with a, how do you call it, with your tongue in your cheek, yeah? And it's, in 1990, I wrote a column about skeletons on the beach, which would gather sand to build up the dunes, to protect the country against the rise of the sea level. That was the first idea. And then, after half a year after publication, I went to the Gamma, also not further than 100 meters away from here, and I bought some of these tubes. And then in September 1990, I played for an afternoon with the tubes, and I promised myself to spend 1 year on the tubes after that afternoon. And that got totally out of hand.
The rest is history, yeah. Any more questions for Theo? Yeah.
Yes, I have a question regarding how you chose actually wind, or if you were considering other sources for moving the beasts. I don't know, water, waves, heat, sun, even rain.
I'm sorry, I don't understand a word, but I'm a bit deaf, you know.
Yeah, was there any other energy source that you consider for the beasts other than wind?
Still, maybe Desiree, if you come closer and you can say, repeat the question.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Now, did you consider another energy source than wind? For example, rain or sun or waves?
Yes, well, I tried a little bit as well, but the wind seems so available on the beach, and more than available sometimes. And the wind is so near all the time, and of course I love the wind. That's another thing. I've tried things with sun energy, so with black surfaces. I don't like black surfaces, so it's more a question of intuition and what is attractive, in fact.
What attracts you so to wind?
Because I think I was born almost on the beach.
Wow.
And so I was born in Scheveningen. And that's, so it's apart from the physical appearance of that the beach is flat and that there's wind, there's also a feeling. In fact, my first impressions of the world was, in fact, it was the beach and the wind. So it has some relation. All the people who are born on the coast, they have this, I think. They all, at the end of their life, they all go back to the coast, and because that's their natural environment, I guess.
Yeah. Yes. You want to catch?
In the past, I did my own electricity installation in my own house using the same tubes that you were using for your strandbeesten.
Okay.
But I don't think that these tubes are still in use anymore. Can you still get those tubes anywhere?
Yeah, what I saw this problem coming a long time ago, and so because nowadays the tubes, they still exist, but they have a sort of red inside that they call it low friction layer, and I couldn't run my pistons through it anymore. So I asked the factory, do you still have all tubes? And they sent me 50 kilometers. And that's enough for the rest of maybe 2 lives.
Good.
And it's, of course, PVC. That's not the most environmental friendly material. Are you recycling the tubes that you do not use anymore?
Yes, it's
Thanks.
but the little pieces I bring to the PVC dump of the city from the gemeente Den Haag, and the other parts they go to exhibitions, and sometimes they go to a next generation. So recently I made a list of all the animals which I made, and there were 101 animals, big ones and smaller ones, and a lot of them were sold, and about 20 of them went to next generations, and I still have 55 strand beasts.
Wow.
And I don't want to saddle up my children with all that, so I'm trying to bring them somewhere. And recently I was happy enough to sell one to the Technical University. So it's going to hang in industrial design, on industrieel ontwerp, yeah.
Yeah, nice. There was one last question. I mean, I decided it's the last one. Probably you have more questions, but the honor to you.
What is your, are you looking for? Are you looking for the speed, or are you looking for develop the strandbeesten? Is it more the width they can walk, or why do you have always different beasts and not? You don't examine the same beast can faster or something like that.
Yeah. So how can you optimize the strandbeesten?
Sorry?
So how can you optimize the strandbeesten? Should they walk faster, or should they
The
do something
criteria
else?
is in fact always surviving.
Survival.
So it's because I want these animals to survive on their own. So I want to add a new specimen to the nature, in fact. And so it's something I want to achieve at the end of my life, that they can be on their own. So, and I found several kind of strategies. So you have, in fact, there are 2 families of strand beasts. You have the wind followers. They just walk with the wind, and they only walk when the wind is more or less parallel to the coast. So they walk to Katwijk, and then they have to wait until the wind has turned 180 degrees, and then they come back. So they are migration animals, you could say. And you have also the crosswalkers. They always put their nose into the wind, and they stay more or less in the same environment. So they walk only for 30 meters, then they walk back and up and down, just like a sailboat, in fact. And I think the crosswalkers will be, in fact, the best surviving animal, because they have a lot less problems than the wind followers, because they have to keep course, they have the water, and so it's. And I'm quite sure the last few days I'm going to reveal something which is going on in my mind. I'm quite sure the last few days that it won't last too long until there's a self-surviving animal on the beach, because I've found a way how they could survive the storms. That was always the big problem, the storms, because the storm has a lot of effects because it buries the beast in sand. So if you put a structure like that on the beach, you come back 3 weeks later, and it's all covered with sand. And it also, of course, it needs to be anchored when.
So they have existed for 35 years already, but let's see how long they will tend to live, to survive us all. And I'd like to thank you with that, Theo Jansen, for your opportunity. Thanks. And thank you so much. And let's shift from imagination to innovation, from creatures that are moved by the wind to technologies that harvest new ways. That harvest it in new ways. Sorry. So our next two guests are sitting next to each other, and they also know each other quite well, very well, because they've worked on different sides of the same technology. And you see this, well, a part of this technology hanging above you, a kite, or I should say airborne wind energy. Roland Schmehl leads the research group developing high-altitude kites that generate electricity. And he works on a technology many engineers love and other engineers call madness. So I'm really curious to hear all about that. And Helena Schmidt was the first to study how people reacted on those technologies and why acceptance is more emotional than technical. So I'd like to invite you both to the stage, Roland Schmehl and Helena Schmidt. Yes, and from here you can hardly see it, Roland, but it's you have seen it from above as well. Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
Is it the first time it is hanging over here?
It is the first time that a kite is hanging here, to my knowledge. Yes.
Cool. Yeah. Then we have a very special event here tonight.
Absolutely.
I was here when the kite was hanging above me. Yeah. For those of you who are new to the concept of airborne wind energy, can you tell us in 2 sentences or so what it is?
Yeah, so basically we use kites to harvest energy, and there are many different concepts out there. And in Delft we are pursuing one concept where we use the pulling force of the kite. So everyone who knows kiteboarding or kite surfing knows that when you fly a kite in crosswind maneuvers, that's how we call it, then it really pulls hard on you. When you stop these crosswind maneuvers, then the pulling force gets less. And we exploit this effect. So we have a tether or a line going from the kite to the ground, where there is it's more than 2 sentences, sorry.
Indeed.
But basically this line is pulled off a drum, which drives a generator. Then we have to reel the kite back in, and we have this so-called pumping cycle. It's a very dynamic motion.
Okay, we have actually a movie of that too, because you're moving your hand like this, but let's watch the movie to see how it works.
Perfect.
We are harnessing the power of the wind to fuel a sustainable future. This is not just a kite. This is kite power. Setting up kite power is quick and easy. In under 2 hours, 2 operators can deploy the entire system, making wind energy mobile and flexible. Unlike traditional wind turbines, the entire system fits into one standard size shipping container and can be deployed within a day, anywhere where wind can be found. Once deployed, kite power rises to reach high altitude winds, where it captures stronger, more consistent energy. This mobile wind energy system generates power by flying figures of 8, reaching higher and higher altitudes, converting the wind's kinetic energy into electricity at the ground station. When it's time to land, the kite smoothly returns to the ground, ready for redeployment. The mobility of the kite power system enables countless previously untapped use cases for wind energy. Using 90% less materials than traditional wind turbines, kite power is truly sustainable. This is the next evolution of wind energy. This is kite power.
Very convincing. This is. We don't even have to talk whether it is or not. It is. All right, but this whole idea of kite power is pretty old. It's 20 years old already, and it started as a crazy idea by Wubbo Ockels. Anyone familiar with Wubbo Ockels? Yeah, okay. Who has met Wubbo even? Long time. Okay, yeah. Just me also. Yay, you too. But it started as a crazy idea that you pushed to reality. So what convinced you to the idea that it was worth pursuing?
Good point, because actually I come from a very technical background of building jet engines and rocket engines. So moving over to kites was quite an extreme step. But you have seen it in the video, and I haven't even seen it at the time flying. It's very beautiful, right? Very gentle, and the movement, it moves with the wind. I think let's say this mechanism at hand that you see here, that is for me, I think, a very nice engineering accomplishment.
Also, yeah. I see similarities to our past interview. But Theo also said it was intuitive, he loved wind. I feel the same.
Absolutely,
here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's, of course, the big difference is renewable energy. It's energy that is all around us that we can use. I think that's the overlap here.
Yeah, indeed. But you've been honest as well that this journey of the past 20 years has been tough at times, financial challenges and slow technical progress. Can I say it like that? Or skepticism from colleagues?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. No. I mean, there is a wind turbine industry and development, and of course, compared to that, kite energy or airborne wind energy is rather small. It's also much more complex. So I always call it a high potential, but also very challenging and risky development. But the high potential is something that attracts me personally. And I like challenges, and there are enough challenges to solve.
And what helped you then to stay committed, that this remained a challenge? What helped you believe?
There are many people who like the idea and who contributed, some of them here also in the audience and here in the movie you saw. And I think it forms a great team spirit of together we can solve this engineering challenge. And that's I find very inspiring.
Yeah.
And driving.
Hopefully. Yeah. So I'm curious, audience, if you think that a kite can generate enough electricity to, how did I put it, to charge an electric car. Can a kite do something like that or not? Who thinks so? Who thinks a kite can power an electric car? Almost, at least half of the audience. What do you think? And
yeah.
Depends on the kite and the car. Yeah, that's very nuanced indeed. Who thinks it's not possible? A kite cannot generate that much energy at all. Nobody thinks it is not possible. So we have a few optimists here in the room.
A lot,
what is the right answer?
The right answer is yes, and we have done it.
You have done it also.
Yes, I mean.
What is then what are the numbers?
The numbers are, let's say, electric car, 80 kilowatt or less, a smaller car, maybe 50 kilowatt. You can charge easily in a day with our system, with the system that Kite Power is developing.
Were you thinking about that kind of amount, or are you surprised now? A bit surprised, I think. A bit surprised. It's a bit more. Better than nothing. Yeah, better than nothing. Okay. Now, Helena, you studied the social acceptance of wind energy, in particular the airborne wind energy. What surprised you most when you began speaking with people and with communities about this technology?
It's a very good question. I'm not sure I ever thought about it that way. I would say what surprised me, so maybe to give a bit of context, I didn't ask the general public who had never heard of this technology, what do you think of this, crazy idea, using kites to generate electricity? But instead I went specifically to test sites where this technology is being tested and developed.
Yeah.
One of the test sites I went to is actually used by Kite Power in Ireland. Another one is in northern Germany. And I asked the communities living in the surroundings of those test sites. So they had seen or at least heard the kite before. And I think what was surprising was that, generally speaking, the perceptions were rather positive of the technology.
You didn't expect that?
Well, I mean, it's still a very new technology compared to solar energy or conventional wind energy. So something that's often assumed by the airborne wind energy sector itself, for example, is that people must be very scared of the safety risks of these kites. But we actually didn't find that in our research. So yeah, there are some people who think about what are the implications, what happens if this thing drops from the sky.
Yeah.
But we couldn't really establish like a relationship between people's safety perceptions and their acceptance of the local test site. Yeah.
Wow, because when you compare it to these, well, shall I say, traditional wind farms, people are reacting, oh, I would love it, but not in my backyard. Yeah, you argue that when you say people don't want it in their backyard, you dismiss genuine concerns. So why is that label unhelpful?
Yeah. So this DIMBY acronym, I think a lot of people are familiar with it. It's often used in public discourse and also in media to kind of paint opponents of wind energy or any renewable energy for that matter in a very negative way. But it doesn't actually help us understand why are people opposing in the first place, because they're not doing this because they're bored, right? It's not because they don't have anything better to do. They're doing it because there is something that really concerns them, that moves them so much they want to take action on it. They actually want to go in the streets and protest or write a letter to their mayor telling him not to approve the project. So I think if we focus too much on this NIMBY term, it doesn't really help us understand what's the underlying motivation for people to protest. And we're also implying that social conflict around renewable energy projects is by default bad, but it's not. It's actually very healthy, because it also helps us discover what the blind spots are.
Yeah.
Because just because it's a renewable energy project doesn't mean it's always a good project, right? There are also really bad projects, not just in terms of the impacts on people, but also in terms of the impacts on nature, and I think we're going to hear more about that in the next round. So I think we should also frame these conflicts in a different way.
Yeah, so we shouldn't, what kind of words should we use then? Not NIMBY anymore, but how should we call those concerns in a better way?
Well, I'm not sure there's like one overarching term that will encompass it all.
But what are the main concerns of people?
Well, so the main concerns are how a project affects the landscape, so like visual impacts, how does it fit into my existing environment that I'm familiar with and that I may also love. Then, of course, direct impacts on me as a person. So a lot of people are worried about health effects, you know, but also we have, you know, genuine reports about experienced noise annoyance for wind turbines, for example.
Yeah.
Shadow flicker used to be a big problem in the past. Now they have updated the regulations, so it's less of a problem. Impacts on nature, like I said, so birds and bats in particular affected by wind energy infrastructure.
Yeah,
quite
a long list already.
Yeah, I think one important one that I haven't mentioned yet is also the process. So if people feel like they have been listened to, they have been included in the decision making, or do they feel like all the decisions have been made above their heads?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. You told me that something that stayed with me, that developers and engineers tend to forget that they are guests in a certain place where wind energy is harvested. So can you explain what happens when that insight is missing?
Yeah, what happens? I think what happens a lot is that it causes resistance from the people. To elaborate a bit on this notion, so I think what happens a lot of times is that developers have this grand ideas, like I want to build this, I don't know, 2 megawatt wind farm here, and it's going to be great, and it's going to produce all this renewable electricity, and people are going to love it. So they go then to the community and they try to kind of sell it in that way. But what they forget about is that the people have been there longer. The people have been there way longer, and now someone from outside comes in and says, we're going to change everything around here. We're going to change how the landscape looks. We're going to change what it sounds like. And we're going to make profit from it too.
Yeah.
And maybe the community will make some profit, but a lot of times they won't. So I think it's important that developers realize that they're actually the guests coming into an existing ecosystem in a way.
Yeah. They have to take that ecosystem into account. Who here in the audience has been involved in local wind projects or public participation processes? Only one? Or two? Three. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you have questions later on. So, do you both think that acceptance of wind energy follows innovation, or is it the other way around?
I think it's neither nor. I think it's a
chicken or egg problem.
No, I think it's more like it's an iterative process, and I think this is what my work on airborne wind energy shows really well, or rather the opportunity that I've been given to do this work so early is very promising, because as you heard, this technology is still in its infancy in a sense. Like we have some semi-commercial test sites, but it's not really scaled up at a large scale yet, which means that my research could pinpoint some blind spots or some pain points that now the industry can actually tackle. And so, for example, when it comes to noise emissions, there's still a lot of room for improvement, and my research showed that some residents are actually negatively affected by the noise coming from these kites, so the industry can actually start making some changes to their design and their operation.
Yeah.
which they already did. Kites are less noisy for some time now, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the point is all these features exist, and we need to learn how they act on people, and then we can take countermeasures. This is engineering.
Yeah, it has. But I can also imagine that engineering has not taken humans into account always.
I think that's a classic issue. And we also learn by doing research together. Of course, especially in a niche field, you have to focus, you have limited resources and all that. So it's just a natural thing to happen. But the bigger you get, of course, the more you need to take your environment into account. And we are just now in that phase.
Okay. Interesting. Maybe the people in the room, if you are working in, you have a windmill in your backyard or not, do you have questions about this kite or social acceptance or anything? Yes. Shall I throw it to you? Yes.
I was actually wondering, because we have, of course, the wind turbine farms. I was thinking about how you see the future for the kite energy. Because, of course, you saw in the video that the radius of the kites is quite large. So I was wondering how you're gonna see the expanding of the kite energy. In other words, how do you see kite energy competing with the already wind farms?
Yeah, is it competing at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good question. People often ask that. So basically, if you think about a farm of kites, you have a maximum length of your line. You draw a circle around, and you're never gonna leave that space. Even then, I think also wind turbines need distance. Otherwise, you have aerodynamic interaction, you have wake effects and all this. So I think at the current stage, we have quite a similar spatial density on the ground. Of course, turbines are much more advanced. They are larger. They produce a lot more energy. Airborne wind energy is a dwarf compared to that. But of course, given time and development, I think also our systems will become larger, produce more energy. So there's still an not so much explored aspect, let's say, how to scale the technology up to large sizes. The company Kite Power is just going through that phase from one system, 30 or 100 kilowatt, to megawatt in the future.
Okay. Yes.
I have read an article on the internet talking about kite energy used on cargo vessels. Do you see the acceptance coming earlier from commercial applications rather than public applications?
Question to you.
Okay, I'm not sure if you mean by commercial applications specifically the vessel-based kites. Yeah. I think you have different stakeholders involved, So if you do this on ships, you have more like the maritime stakeholders involved, so shipping industry and so on. Whereas when you do it on land as an energy project, it's much more about who is there, so local communities and local administration and so on. So I think it leads to different concerns and different questions. For the general public, I would say, yeah, if you implement it on a ship, they probably don't care that much about it.
Probably.
But of course, the ships are not where you need the energy in the end. We want to use it on land somewhere in most of the cases. But of course, there is one application where you use the ship kite then to produce hydrogen as a fuel, and I think that's an interesting idea.
Another question?
Yes. For wind turbines, you have a theoretical limit to the amount of wind energy that you can produce, the size of the wind turbine. Is there also a theoretical limit for wind energy on kites, or?
Right now, it's more a practical limit. There is, of course, also a theoretical limit. But it's a very interesting question that many researchers have already tried to answer, and it's not as simple as for a wind turbine. Maybe just to make it simple, a wind turbine has a rotor disk area, and you can relate the produced energy to the wind energy passing through that disk, and that's how you get to the theoretical limit. For the kite, it can fly patterns, the patterns change. So how do you, what kind of reference energy do you apply? But let's say that is still an unanswered question.
Nice. I think 2 questions.
Yeah. I'm again interested on how the idea started. So did you want to solve a specific issue that wind turbines were having? So what was when the idea came, oh, but maybe this could solve this issue or something like that?
Very interesting. Yeah, maybe here I should differentiate between Delft and the rest of the world. So in the 80s, there was very interesting a researcher in the US, Miles Lloyd, and he tried during the energy crisis to come up with a new solution to produce wind energy. And he wrote a paper and did a study that basically is our, let's say, original paper spinning off this whole trend. He was really driven by solving the energy problem, but I think many researchers later then, they were more technology driven. They found the idea nice and interesting, and it was also a challenging control problem to fly kites and produce energy. A lot of the early research was, let's say, driven by control researchers, but I think at some point it all came back together in solving the energy problem. And the energy problem is making electricity cheap and with a low impact on the environment.
Last question.
I'll take one. Dr. Roland, the patterns the kite flies, I found that quite interesting, quite intriguing with how much you can get done with basically one container size, everything which fits in one container. Are the patterns optimized for the region where you fly the kite in? Put differently, can you produce more electricity by optimizing how the kite path is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I understood the question right, it's about optimization specific for location, right? The flight path is optimized also for the wind conditions, for the site where you are deploying. Is it a low wind site, a medium or high wind site? That all comes back then in different flight patterns. And that's also what makes the kite energy so interesting, because you can vary all these aspects. You can fly lower or higher depending on where the wind blows more. The wind typically blows harder the higher you go, and you can exploit this effect in the end to produce more energy constantly than with a wind turbine, because the wind turbine is anchored in one place to one height, and there is only that one wind resource it can exploit. The kite can follow the energy in the atmosphere and by that generate more. That's a little bit also the vision that was driving this whole development.
Optimistic thinking again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I hope you're right. Thank you so much for this interview, Roland and Helena. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have explored the wind high in the sky, and now we travel to the seafloor, to marine ecosystems, to decades of research, and to the sheer practical reality of keeping 139 turbines running. So our final duo brings together two very different expertises, two very different timelines. Iris Menger works every day in the operational heart of the Hollandse Kust Zuid, an offshore wind farm with 139 turbines supplying power to 1 million households. And Gerard van Bussel began his career in the 1970s when wind research was geitenwolle sokken. Don't know how to translate that properly, and home-built bicycle turbines. So together they show what it means to build wind systems that must work for decades in real ecosystems and real societies. So let's give him a warm welcome, Iris and Gerard. It's really Dutch to say your first names, maybe not too polite, but here we can do this, I think. So Iris, to start with you, you oversee the ecological monitoring both above and below water. And maybe before I ask a question, we'll look at a movie of how your work can be. So let's look.
Ja, 1, 2, 3.
Die turbines die zijn heel nieuw, dus we gaan heel erg ontdekken van wat is het effect van die waterverversingsgaten nu eigenlijk op die soorten. En de verwachting is wel dat het binnen minder stroomt, dat er misschien iets minder zuurstof is, dat er misschien iets minder voedsel is. Dus dat soorten die heel erg veel houden van heel veel stroming binnen minder voorkomen. Maar het kan ook zijn dat die waterverversing zo hoog is dat er weinig verschil wordt aangetroffen tussen binnen en buiten.
De maatregelen die we nu aan het treffen zijn eigenlijk nog in de testfase. Dus we hopen met de resultaten die we verkrijgen te kunnen aantonen dat de maatregelen daadwerkelijk effectief zijn voor het bouwen van windparken in de toekomst.
De resultaten die gebruiken wij om uiteindelijk te concluderen of deze waterversingsgaten ook echt daadwerkelijk een functie hebben voor ecologie hier in de Noordzee. Die kennis die wij opdoen, die verspreiden wij in onze toolbox, zodat iedereen gebruik kan maken van die kennis om ook deze maatregel toe te passen in verdere windmolenparken die nog gebouwd moeten worden.
Yeah, I realized we were in the middle of something because we used a part of a movie to show you, but maybe you are thinking now, waterverversingsgaten, water replenishment holes, I saw in the translation, beautiful word, but where are those holes? And maybe you can explain it a little bit more.
Yes, totally. So you have the foundation part underwater, and the foundation is actually hollow. And what we did is we added water replenishment holes. They're about 70 centimeters high and a bit less wide. So you have a nice oval, and the water comes in and out. It's directed in the current so that we have a continuous water replenishment, so that you have fresh water inside the foundation, which then creates a sheltered environment.
Yeah, so now you're researching if that helps to build ecosystems or not. And do you already have some sort of results?
Well, you could see already the pictures speak quite well for itself. Some of these images were actually from inside. So you could see already, just from the videos that we're taking, that there's actually a very nice ecosystem that's developed there. And we also, we are finalizing the report, which shows actually that there is a difference between inside and outside, which you could expect because there's less flow and maybe also less oxygen, but the difference is not too much. So it looks actually very healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. You are an ecologist working at Vattenfall, and you have done many kinds of research to stimulate biodiversity.
Well, if we look at Hollandse Kust site, there's a few. We did quite a few projects. So we did our nature inclusive designs, which we have to do according to the tender and the permit that we have from Dutch government. But we also engage in more different kinds of monitoring projects where we either support a project to allow research to be done in the park, as well underwater, or we are a partner in maybe, for example, a bird monitoring study that we set up this year. So yeah, we are really trying to engage in all the ecological monitoring projects.
You were even at the, what was it, Jeugdjournaal or Klokhuis, a Dutch television series, and it was about a special kind of shark that was swimming.
Oh, that's it. I think
windmills,
two. I think there's two things combined. I wasn't on there, but yes, there was some research done on the appearances of sharks and rays in wind farms, which in general is a concerning topic because sharks and rays, they are very sensitive for electromagnetic fields.
Yeah.
But the research showed that actually in all of the Dutch wind farms, you have the presence of sharks and rays, and one of the iconic basking sharks was found in HKZ. So that was that's good news.
That's amazing. Yeah. We were already talking about sharks, so actually I gave this question away already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you think that offshore wind is mostly negative or mostly positive for marine life? So who thinks it's mostly negative for marine life, those wind parks, those offshore wind parks? Quite some people, quite a lot of people, actually. And are there also people who think it's positive for marine life? Okay. A little bit less think it's positive, but I think this audience represents the Dutch population because the overall idea is that offshore wind parks are negative.
Yeah, I could see some hands, some people who raise hands double, so it's bad and good, which I think is good to talk about, because no one can deny that a wind farm does any good to an ecosystem, right? When you start it, there's a massive impact. When it's built, you have the impact on birds. So, okay, that's that. It has impact. However, if you look at what we see right now, so a wind farm actually creates a space where no one else can come, and because only the wind farm operators are there, which is a few little boats going in and out of the park, you create a sort of a safe haven for marine species after it's built. And what we see actually is that wind farms can have the function of a nursery, a marine nursery, which then allows organisms to grow and have grow in healthy numbers.
Yeah. And when I called you, you even compared wind energy with fossil fuels, and the amount of animals that died from fossil fuels compared to wind energy. It is 0.3 versus 14 per gigawatt.
Yeah, these numbers I don't really know, but I think if you look at animals that are impacted right now from wind, When it's there, it's mainly birds. So that's birds and bats. That was already mentioned before. They are the most heavily impacted animals if you look at an existing wind farm. But also there, it's what we do is we actually recently deployed a project. It's called BirdSafe, where we have on the most popular turbines, so to say, in the park, where the most birds come by. We installed a lot of cameras, both infrared, also density cameras. And what we try to do with this is to actually capture the data on what birds fly by, how many, and also get a very good image of bird collisions. So how many birds do actually get hit by wind turbines? And actually, in addition to that, what we already do is, in collaboration with the Dutch government, is they call it a start-stop procedure. And whenever the current models show a potential migration can start, either in autumn or in spring, these are the big migration seasons, we get a notification from the ministry that we have to stop our park in order for safe passage for birds or bats.
Okay, so that happens already.
Yeah.
Okay. So Gerard, finally coming to you. You've been witnessing wind energy for 50 years or so. What would people today be most surprised to learn about the early days of wind research?
Well, maybe that people that's basically started in doing modern wind energy research never had thought that it would get the scale it has now. This is really unimaginable. I mean, when we started working in wind energy, I started in January '77, but I'm a certified miller as well, and I got my diploma in 1975. So yes, I'm 50 years in wind. But anyway, then the sizes of these modern wind turbines were even smaller than the old windmills that we have.
Oh wow! And
so that's actually where it all started
windmills,
from. And in those early days, it was actually also the idea that it would be possible to deploy these small wind turbines on a large scale, in the sense that many thousands, 10,000s of them, and then indeed participate into the electricity production, but certainly not on a scale where we are at the moment, and certainly not on a scale where we think we're going to be in the next 20 years.
Okay, yeah, so we could not have imagined the future.
Nobody could, I would say.
No, well, we were talking about 100 years ahead, but that's also very difficult. Yeah. So looking at across those decades, what were the breakthroughs that made today's offshore turbines possible?
Yeah, those, of course, are to quite some extent technology-based. I mean, in the early days, we, of course, looked into, let me say, neighboring technologies. So the group where I worked in started in aerospace engineering. And in the beginning, we took a lot of knowledge from sailplanes, because sailplanes basically have similar sizes. They fly at similar speeds. And you can also imagine that these wings of an airplane are quite similar in terms of structure of a wind turbine. So that's one of the things we started with. But gradually, of course, new knowledge need to be developed, because in the early days, the way in which we controlled these wind turbines had nothing to do with the way in which they control aircraft in general.
No.
That caused actually a drive towards totally different aerodynamic profiles. So that was one thing. To be able to control the wind turbines in high speeds, in storms. It was not so much the sand, of course, but we need to control the wind turbines to be surviving in high wind conditions. That was one thing. The second thing that also played a big role was in fact, the invention of power electronics. In the early days, these old wind turbines were actually more or less directly connected to the grid. In other words, they run exactly one speed, which is the frequency of the grid. Of course, not the complete frequency of the grid because there's a kind of a gearbox in between. But typically, 60 RPM, 90 RPM, all those constant speeds, or 45 RPM, but nothing in between.
Wow.
And that also gave a limit with respect to optimizing the loads, and hence also increasing the scale. We learned more. We learned how to build wind turbines that have blades that are actually controlled to take the optimal position for different wind conditions.
Yeah.
Etc., etc., and that also helped a lot. And of course, in the early days, nobody knew actually how long composite blades, plastic blades, could last. So I remember very well when the electricity companies in the beginning wanted to dominate basically the design of the wind turbines that they wanted. They thought it was mandatory for them to order wind turbines that had steel blades. Why? Because we knew a lot about the fatigue life of steel, but we didn't know anything about the fatigue life of composites.
Aha.
And gradually we learned about it, of course.
Okay, yeah, those were the breakthroughs.
A number of them, yeah.
But when we look at the future, we know windmills have 3 blades for ages already. Has the industry become risk averse to design something innovative, something new?
Well, we started, of course, with 4-bladed windmills. These 3-bladed ones are only 50 years old, so...
Only 15?
50, 50,
okay.
something like that.
But that's quite long.
Yeah, well, that's a difficult issue, and it's also something that has been discussed a lot. I mean, in the early days, I myself had the opinion that once we really should start with building wind turbines offshore, so let's say typically 20, 25 years ago, then at that point, a different design option would become the best one, which is a 2-bladed wind turbine. Why 2-bladed? Well, you need 1 blade less, so it's cheaper.
Yeah.
But also think about installation or maintaining wind turbines offshore. I mean, if you now have something that is not right with the rotor, you need to go there and take 1 blade off, while if it's only 2 blades, you can simply take the complete thing off, bring it to shore, put a new one on, and continue running. A disadvantage of 2 blades is that it makes more noise. And in the beginning we thought, okay, offshore noise can't be an issue, so let's go for 2 blades. That didn't happen, and my idea, but it's a personal opinion, it's a question of conservatism in the industry. There are still too many people that work in companies, and none of the bigger companies really want to take a change, because then that might be seen as a lack of confidence in their own design. And so that's why we still stick with this 3-bladed window.
Do you want to say to this audience, we need more technological courage again?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Although these Chinese, they do crazy things nowadays. They have recently put 2 wind turbines on 1 platform floating.
Oh, okay.
And I never believed in that, so let's see how it comes to. But the Chinese
when you look ahead in 20 or 30 years, what development do you find most promising, or for the ecology, or for the amount of wind energy harvests? Is it floating turbines, or is it offshore hydrogen development, Roland was already talking about, or something entirely different?
Well, that's always the big question.
Yeah.
No, but I think what is really...
Otherwise you are going to ask it.
But what is really key is actually what connects the 2 of us.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we all have really big plans with respect to developing the North Sea to start with, but maybe also the oceans, etc., etc. We still do not know enough about the impact that wind energy has on the ecosystem. And I hope we're going to learn a lot more the coming 5 years, so that in 5 years from now, when the real offshore should take off, because all the plans are there relatively modest until 2032, 2033, and then later on, the big boom should come. And I really do hope that we then know enough to be sure that this can be done without too much harm to the environment.
Do you agree? Because your research suggests that marine life is flourishing.
Yeah, I think if we look in 5 to let's say 20 years, we know much more about the impact, also how to lower impact, hopefully, and what actually the real effect is on the ecosystem below and above water. I think the research is going on right now, and we hope to have some promising results, hopefully.
Yeah, there's really good progress being made, because, I mean, what you just told me remembers me quite a lot about one of your predecessors, because we started doing environmental research about 20 years ago already in the first offshore wind farm that we had, that is in front of Egmond aan Zee. And one of your predecessors was Han Lindeboom, and he was also ever asked the question, but Han, do you think, is it going to do harm to the environment when we put new wind farms in? He says, actually, I don't know. What I do see, and that was limited, is, yes, we do something to the environment. So things will change. But it's far too early to say whether the change is to the good or to the bad.
Okay. So
and now we're 20 years later, and there's a tendency that we do think it's maybe a little bit more to the good, to the bad. We still don't know it.
But
so that's
more
why we need
research
another
needed.
5 years.
Okay, so I'm curious,
More
dear audience, I've been interviewing them for quite some time. Yeah, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. So the video you showed us was very intriguing, and I think there has also been a lot of positive developments. Gerard just pointed out. But obviously, once these wind farms will be decommissioned, you're basically taking away all this infrastructure again that is fostering biodiversity. So you think that, you know, on a global scale, these changes that you're implementing are still going to outweigh the negative impact that building the farm has?
So what is your question? What are we going to do once we need to decommission? Or was there more behind your question?
Well, as far as I understood, once you decommission, you also take away the nursery, as you called it, right? So is putting it there in the first place actually going to outweigh the negative impacts that building and operating and decommissioning the wind farm has?
That completely depends on what we're going to do with decommissioning. So when decommissioning, I think if you look at what are we supposed to do, that's we have to take everything out and give it back exactly how we got it. However, we have to realize, is this realistic? Does it make sense from a ecological perspective? Does it make sense maybe from an engineering perspective? Can we maybe think about more how do you say this? Like, are there maybe other options that we can explore when it comes to decommissioning? Mm-hmm. For example, let's say something you take only away the tower and you reuse, or you put a foundation on exactly the same spot. So whatever was there, okay, there's a little bit of impact, but it restores back again. Because if you only take back a little bit from an ecosystem that is there and so well developed, it can restore quite well back if you don't take it all away. So these are things that are now being taken into consideration. There's a lot of ecological, like NGOs thinking about this already. Like the Rijke Noord is actually already looking into this big question, because it is a big question.
Yeah. Yeah, Iris, maybe it's good to tell the audience, because they might not all know. But for every company that develops and builds a new offshore wind farm, it is mandatory that everything that they put into the sea needs to be taken off. Mm-hmm. So that means in 20 years or 25 years or 30 years from that point on, it either will be repowered or everything will be taken off. And then I'm totally a layman on this point, but what, for example, happens in every wind farm that we build in the Netherlands or in front of the coast of the Netherlands, these are wind turbines that are built with a monopile, and around that monopile there's a huge amount of rocks. They call it scour protection. So to me, as a layman, I would say maybe you need to take the pile out, maybe you need to take the electricity cables out, but leave the rocks there, because it's a really kind of natural rocky environment While we have other companies that are actually nowadays designing concrete elements to be put into the North Sea for mussels, for everything.
Yeah.
So that might be a good compromise, so to say, that you don't take the stones away because they actually have benefited a lot, and that's something we like for the future, even without the wind turbines.
Yeah. Another question?
Thank you. So yeah, my question would be to Gerard. I liked your example about the crazy China wind energy concept. I saw it as well on LinkedIn, of course. But why is it that they are doing it and it's not Europe taking this risk? Is it only money related? Because technically speaking, we have a lot of smart people here, of course. We have courage, we have knowledge. But it's the Chinese that do it. So why don't we do it?
Because if an American or a European company would do the same thing, and this 16 megawatt machine, which is at least a 50 million euro development, not including R&D cost, will topple down, the company will be bankrupt. That's slightly different in China. I think that's one of the main reasons.
Good answer. No, sorry. Gerard
I would like to make one small correction before, because you mentioned the lifetime of wind farms. I think the current lifetime of the wind farms that we are currently developing is like 35 years. Not that anyone thinks that we are breaking these things down after 20 years. And also that we in the Netherlands don't have any experience with decommissioning of wind farms yet, because the last, the oldest wind farms, the licenses got renewed. But that's not my question. I have a question for the societal impact, because Iris has mentioned a couple of mitigation measures as well as nature-inclusive design, both obligatory and voluntary, that Vattenfall has taken. And on top of that, you have this nursery effect because there's no fishing in offshore wind farms. How can the offshore industry better, or should they better put that onto the public to increase societal acceptance? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think they should, because I think it's still, not known by the average person that there are all these developments and that you can actually enhance the biodiversity in wind farm. But there's a caveat, because when you put it like this, you're kind of assuming this information deficit model, which is very common, by the way. So people think that there's a lack of acceptance because people don't have enough information, which sometimes is the case, but most of the times it's not. So just because you supply more information doesn't mean people are going to change their minds. It also depends how you address their concerns.
We have time for, I think, one more question. Yeah, I'm looking at the organizers.
Yes, question for Iris. So I know Iris already for quite some time, and she has a secret life, that of a seaweed farmer. And I was wondering, what is your opinion about doing rewilding experiments with those nature-inclusive designs around those windmill parks?
I think, from my heart, I love it. I think also, ecologically speaking, this makes sense. I think we should try to focus then on the scour protection, right? Because we are already there. We already changed what was before there. So if we can, I'm really open for that idea, because I think seaweed really brings a lot of ecological enhancements to a system. And if we find the right species that grow in the North Sea conditions, I'm very open for that development. I think it's really good. Yeah.
Thanks. Unfortunately, we don't have any time for questions. I saw more people with hands, but I hope the speakers will stay for a little bit more time. So for now, I'd like to thank Iris and Gerard for those insights in ecology and history of wind. So thank you very much, and a big round of applause for you. end, before we really end, I'd like to ask you one more question, because this whole evening was about commitment to wind. And I was just curious if you gained any ideas what commitment meant to you. So, yeah, it's still a difficult word, isn't it? How is it translated? Commitment, yeah. I don't think it's a proper translation, is it? Toewijding, yes, yeah. Something like that, long-term commitment, something like that. What does commitment mean to you?
So from my own perspective, and also maybe reflecting what I've heard this evening, I think because we are on such a breakthrough point in this industry, perhaps in accepting new forms of energy harvesting, is that we should get our creative part, and don't forget that that is very important in this whole process, and invest in these different stakeholders, because I think all of us together, keeping the creativity in mind brings us very far.
Good, great. Creative minds brings us very far. Does anyone want to add something to what commitment means to you, or what you will remember from this evening?
I think in this instance, commitment means exploring what the possibilities are, what it can be, and what it can add to society as a whole.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thanks.
I think there's one word I would like to see that is responsibility. I think what we heard is that especially engineers, they love the science, and they sometimes forget about the fact actually that the North Sea is the largest piece of nature that we have in Holland. I think the interesting part with here, we do a lot of nature restoration already. We need to keep the balance. I think commitment is also responsibility.
Yeah, beautiful. So commitment is creativity, is exploring, is responsibility. What was the Dutch word again? Toewijding. Is there another word you want to share?
Yeah, for me it's about committing to people and committing to nature, because I think that's why we're doing it in the first place. We're not building wind farms for big corporations. We're building it to save the planet, and that's for humanity and also nature.
Oh, how beautiful. I couldn't have said it more beautiful than you. So committing, we're doing it for people, we're doing it for nature and for the world to make it a better place. So thank you very much, all of you, for participating, for all your questions, and also again for all the speakers or experts who wanted to be on stage. I hope you stay for a while and talk about commitment a little bit more. But for now, the Strand Basin are waiting, I wanted to say, but the exhibition is not open anymore. We can't go there. Or can we go there? Oh, it's open until? Till midnight even. And I also heard that the exhibition for the people who have not been there is open a few more weeks until what was it called? Until January. All January. Oh, great, I hear. The whole month of January. Yeah. So, thank you very much for being part of this conversation tonight. Applause for yourself and for the speakers.